let's get back to it. So we were doing this exercise. I sent you what I had. I think we were mostly missing just the last part of, yeah, the scroll. I'll finish it later and send it to you because, yeah, we need to talk about more things. Yeah, we're going to talk about the browser landscape. So what does that mean? Does the types of browsers that you have that people navigate on. This was a big problem before. It's not as big as the problem nowadays, but IE is always a pain, or it was a really big pain because even though you design your website so that it looks the same in all of them, if you use different browsers at times, you can see that they look a little bit different. Sometimes it doesn't look exactly the same. So what changes is first the main styles that they add to everything, right? So do you remember how like H1 has margin by default and like all of that? So that can change from browser to browser. And so even though you think you're styling that correctly, maybe you're not overriding that browser specifically. So you see it in Chrome and it looks great, and then you open it in IE and it looks terrible. And it can also be because there is, yeah, so these are the main browsers. But there are more that we don't really think about that often.
Yeah, that's
the first one I see.
The corner of internet.
Exactly. So there are people that still use IE8. Like think about old companies that never update their
Banks,
banks.
they don't update it.
Mexico uses like a lot of old browsers too. Sorry?
Every time you go to a shop, they use IE. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? Because it depends on databases, how they collect data, and the internet and all them are easier, and for that reason most of them they use.
Yeah, it could be. And like Opera, I think is really popular in other parts of the world, even though we don't think about it.
Oh my God.
There are people that use it, right? And you can't forget about this because your browser is supposed to work for everyone that goes into a website. The internet is, for anyone that has internet and a browser, they should be able to go to your website. And so you should be able to deliver it to everyone that gets on that, in whatever way they do it.
Chromium.
So there is this...
But when it comes to the SEO, Google Chrome is much important than others.
Yeah, it depends on, like, let's say you're building...
Because most of the people, even if they search on the Internet Explorer or other things, they use Google, they Google it.
But that's
even
different, right?
For that.
But that's different because Google is the product, but the browser, the one that renders the pages,
okay, but
is
if
different.
you make a website responsive for the Google Chrome, when you are searching in other browsers with the Google engine, it comes upper. Because Google, they think about everything. If you put the photo in your, Google Plus, if you use a special font from Google, everything is for SEO.
Yeah, I believe that, but that's not important right now. And so, yeah, there are many browsers, and it depends, it depends on who is your target market, right? Let's say my target market is people that work on banks. Like I'm building an application that is specifically for this really old bank in Mexico, and I know most of those people use IE. I need to make sure that it works nice in IE. But let's say you're building a nice, product and for young people. Young people use mostly Chrome, so you think that, or Firefox. Yeah, this is just a link with some stats about that. But this is something that we haven't seen before, and it's for some properties on CSS. Sometimes they have different ways of referring to them. And you need to add this that is called a prefix before. So this was, for example, flex. Now we use it all the time and it's supported. But when it wasn't, you needed to add this. So let's say I just wrote like dash webkit dash display. I don't remember what it was. Yeah, display flex or something. Then it would only work on Chrome. The other browsers would not understand that rule, so they would just ignore it. Imagine that you had your grid with flex, and you're thinking, oh, it looks super nice on Chrome, and then you open it on Firefox, and it doesn't have display flex. That's the whole thing, right? If you remove display flex, then it's just a bunch of things one on top of another. So it can change a lot of things. And there is this, oh wait. This website, because when you continue learning about new properties that come out of CSS, sometimes you need to add this type of prefixes to, like, let's look at this one, Flexbox, that we've been using a lot. You can see, like, it says, like, for all iOS 6 and 40, you need to say display, instead of display flex, display dash webkit dash box. And this is like, again, let's say you're targeting people that use very old iPhones. You definitely need to have that. Otherwise, the browser will not understand what display flex is.
It's better to give money to them to buy a new.
Yeah. You can, yeah, sure. Sure. You can do that too. And yeah, so this is a nice.
If you don't write this code, we force them to go and buy a new.
So how you cannot see it? I can see it. You have to buy it.
So yeah, here are a couple of things that need, like, let's border image or border radius that I think we've used. That's fine. You can just use border radius, and that works on all the browsers. But the ones that are in this type of blue color, it means that there are some, like, remember we talked a little bit about the grid. We just mentioned it. We haven't. I don't think we'll get into that. But if you want to use grid in IE10, you need to have this too. And
we should write it in the same line. Yeah?
yeah, so let's say this, like, and this is what,
Like this, okay.
when, yeah, like I remember when Flex was like this. And so instead of us just having this, like, this super nice display flex, you needed to add all of this to make sure it was going to work on all the browsers. So you do need to, there are tools that, you'll learn about that, but that you write the just display flex, and then it will add the prefixes on its own, but you need to do some configuration for that. Anyways, this is just so you're aware that the way that we're talking about building websites right now, I mean, we just see it in Chrome or in Firefox, right? And you see it working, and then it's fine, but it will not always be the case. Like, you sometimes need to take care of this so that it works for everyone. When you actually put something out there, and, like, you go to aliciacatalina.com, I need to make sure that that works on all of the browsers. And then there is this. This is super nice. I use this frequently. So it's just caniuse.com, and it tells you when something is available. Like, let's try grid. So see, it says grid layout, and you can see the versions in the browser that it's available. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you can see, like, for Opera is not supported. For Opera Mini is not supported at all. Yeah, in Chrome 49, not supported. And then when it's a little bit, it's partial support with the prefix of MS. So here you can see, like, let's say, yeah, you want to try something like, yeah, maybe like this is new. Remember, we've been talking about justify content. We saw space around and space between. This is new, that is justify content space evenly for the flex containers. And you can't just add it and then, okay, this should work. Because it won't, right? You need to take care of this, i.e., you need to add prefixes. You need to, like, IE 11 is not supported at all.
You mean you have to write different kind of code for IE?
Well, like in this case, for example, if I wanted to use it at work,
yeah.
I couldn't be able to do it. Because I know there are people that use IE 11, so I need to wait until it's available for all of them. Because it's not supported. If it was just adding prefixes, maybe I would use it. But in this case, it's not supported at all.
What does it mean, these green things and this?
So red is like it's not available at all. It doesn't exist. This like sort of yellowish green, it means partial support. So it may not be the completely available, but it may have some bugs. It may have like it's not.
They don't decide it yet.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, this is, or sometimes it means also that it will work. Oh, look, for example, here it's highlighted. I missed this. So in this case, it means supported in CSS grid, but not Flexbox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind too when you're writing CSS and just thinking that everything will be.
But do you charge your client for these kind of things as well? You know, you just, for example, tell them, okay, I will write a code for you just for Chrome. If you want to work for IE, I will charge extra. No?
No, it depends on what the customer supports. So you ask him before what browsers would you like us to support.
And he obviously said
But
all
and
they
this.
then
don't have that knowledge to understand this.
Yeah, but you want them to be happy, otherwise they're not gonna hire you.
Yeah, but it's not something that you charge extra for.
And how do you research about these things? For example, a company comes to you, a client comes to you and asks you to design this website. How do you start your work? Do you need any references? Because, for example, you get my question?
Yeah. But I guess it depends on like if there is something new that I want to use and that I think it would work with this specific project, then
You can try anyway. I mean.
you can try.
Yeah, you can make it and then see in different, places.
What would you say about that,
But
Ben?
big company, they don't pay you just for practicing, you know. They are looking for a person that knows what should to do, you know.
But you get that from experience, I would say. What would
Yeah,
you say,
well,
Benjamin?
It depends. Like, I don't think there is a normally, but sometimes you just like, well, I need to implement these features, and it'll cost you this much, and then it's up to yourself to kind of figure out, do I need to do some researching? Is there some things I don't understand? And you figure that out yourself. If you need to do a lot of researching, maybe you increase the price, then maybe they'll go with someone else because the price is too high. So you just agree on a price sometimes, but sometimes also you say, well, I cost 400 kroner an hour, and I just say what I work on, and that's it. So it really depends. It's very different.
And sometimes the customer, they ask you, for example, they show you a specific website from other companies, and they ask you, I want something similar to this, yes?
Like that's a very big question because this is kind of about the specifics, but about kind of designing the website and choosing fonts and colors. That's something very different. That's like a huge question. There are studies for that kind of. meeting the customer.
So mostly you work with the designer, yes? You know, there is a designer between you and the client.
There isn't really a mostly. It depends.
Oh.
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Oh.
Yeah, so it is difficult to say like in broad terms, because sometimes you won't implement something on the front end. You'll do it in the back end, and then it's more requirements, and this thing should be able to.
Definitely, when a company come to you and ask you to make them a website, they concentrate themselves on what they have in front of them, and then they think about how customer can see. They have to see their product first of all, and then you can figure out how to show them to the customers that they want to see it from different websites or what I'm saying. So first of all, it should be seen in their website, in their computers, in their project, and then you see how you can. That should be the main goal, I think.
Yeah, this is very specific. But the next thing we're going to talk about is the difference between JPEGs, PNGs, and SVGs. And I had an example with my images that don't work. So I'll talk to you about it and we can see it later. So the main thing that I can think about between a JPEG and a PNG is like having a transparent background. You can only do it with a PNG. And a JPEG is like a low quality image. I mean, PNG is also not that good, but it's better and you can have that. And the SVGs, that's short for scalable vector graphics. And they are really good because in the end, they are just code. So if you see, like, I'll just look up SVG image. They are meant to scale. So this became a problem when the iPhones came out and they had Retina display, and all of the images that were online were JPEGs or PNGs, and then suddenly it was so obvious how low the quality was. So you could see like a bunch of pixels, and it was just like not that nice. So people started using a lot of SVGs, which they're meant to scale because they are just lines. It's not
Graphic.
yeah. So that will look great on desktop and tablet and mobile and at any scale that you want it to be. And they're also smaller. So Omid was telling me, yeah. But about the Microsoft, the thing you told me in the morning that they lowered. Can you talk about it?
Yes, I explained to him as well. There is a woman that she's explaining about how how he started working in the Microsoft. He said one of the projects that they gave her to finish it was to bring down the 10-second loading website to 2 seconds just for the SVG.
Yeah. So they are faster to load because in the end they can be part of your markup. So when you think of a website that has a lot of images, you load your HTML, and when your HTML goes like through your file and it gets to an image tag, it needs to make an HTTP request to get that image, right? And so that is server time, and that is like if you're on very very low quality internet, that can take
Couple of
3 seconds.
Yeah.
And that is very important, because in 8 seconds maybe you will lose
A customer.
40% of customers.
Yeah.
I have a low speed internet. When I open it and it doesn't
Get
work,
frustrated.
get faster, so I will close it.
Yeah.
They lose me.
Even worse, I was talking to someone, I don't remember very well, but it was saying like in Mexico and in Brazil and other places of the world, it's very expensive to have data on your phone.
Yeah.
And so for every request that you make, that is
Bunch of mega.
money that you're costing to the customer itself. And if you have a website that has so many images and you need to go and fetch all of the images, then the story was like that if the people would finish the megas before the page was even loaded, and so you couldn't do anything, and it's just like it can be a chain of many things that it actually has an impact on people. Like it literally costs you money. Like me, the customer, I just want to go to a website. It's not my fault that you created this website that has a bunch of images that are slow to load, and it is affecting me. So load time and request time, it's important. And when you can,
and even it affects on SEO as well.
yeah,
You know, if
definitely.
your website load faster, it comes.
Yeah, and so with SVGs, you can have an image like just profile.svg, but that is also another request that you need to make to the server. It will look very good and it will be smaller, but it's also, you still need to get and fetch that image. But what SVG is in the end, it's code. So I want to see like, yeah, like you can see in this, like, the images don't show, but this is just a .png, PNG, and a .svg. But SVG is code.
Yeah.
It looks somehow like HTML, so you don't need, if you have an image in SVG, you don't need to go and fetch anything. It's in your code already.
Because you make it.
Yeah, so let's like look for an example. SVG image code.
Most of the logos are in SVG.
Yeah, that's true. Let's like look for an example in clipping. Image clipping. No. Well, yeah. Since my images don't work, I'll send you an example later. But you want to do that. That's what you want to reach for. So most of the logos are SVG code, and if you have icons, for example, that are very used on websites, they're also SVGs. Imagine if you had to fetch that. That was what people were doing before. Like for all of the icons, it was you needed to go and fetch it. So yeah, it was bad. And now let's like. This is a fun part of CSS.
What do you call them?
Animations.
Frameworks? No.
You cannot convert.
Yeah, frames. Web frames. What's the name? I don't remember.
iFrame.
No.
No. It's frame. There are frames.
Something frames, but I don't remember what it is.
Framework.
No, it's not framework. So this is an example of what you can do with SVGs. This is an infographic, and this is a SVG an animation. Sorry. So this is, for example, like I'm gonna hover on this, and this is a nice animation, right?
Oh, really good.
And so they have this. So you can do a lot of nice things. I don't know what else you can do, but let's try to do something like that. Let's do it together. So code with me. As I'm coding, you do it as well.
You want to draw the shape as well?
I just want to, right now, let's just get a circle, and when you hover on it, it gets bigger. Yeah, so let's try to do that. What is this? Ah, yeah.
You know Prezi?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Prezi do the same thing. I used to use Prezi as well. It do the same thing. Kinda.
I'll create another folder, animations. New file, CSS, and yeah, HTML. And in here, I'm just gonna create a div. How do you make a circle in CSS?
Huh?
How do you make a circle in HTML?
Circle? The voice circle?
Circle.
Not in SVG. I'm talking about like HTML and CSS.
I make circle.
Yes. Yeah. So what? Remember what I told you the first class? Everything is a rectangle.
Yeah.
All the time. So how do you turn?
Radius.
How do you convert a rectangle into a circle?
Radius.
You add a border
Make
radius.
a high radius.
So I'll have an empty div that has a class circle.
But is it for everything, just not for pictures?
Sorry?
When I like that circle in CSS, is it for everything, like for text or anything, or just for pictures?
Yeah, for everything, I think. Yeah. So, and then let's add the link to the index. I'll open the index, class circle, and for a rectangle to be a circle, it actually needs to be a square, right?
yeah.
So we need to make it
Width 500 pixels, high 500 pixels.
that may be too big.
And border radius.
So let's see it. Let's see
20%.
it open. Where was
You
this?
should make a border anyway, because you will not
Yeah,
do-
but I want to show how
I still didn't.
it looks. Oh, we don't have. Why
Yeah.
don't I see it? There's no background, right? So it's the same background, but yeah. And now let's make it a circle. Border radius. How
20%.
much? 20%.
No, 100%.
100%.
Nah,
50%.
What?
Now it's a circle.
Oh yeah. Because for every side you take the.
But even you do it 100%, it works.
Because but you only need 50.
Yeah.
If you add 100, I mean, if you add 300, it will work. But
Yeah. It should be 50 because for every side you take the 50% of the.
exactly. So now we have a circle in CSS, and we want to make it so that when we hover it, it grows.
Use
So-
the hover and then give it, the width, for example, 120%. Like
No, translation.
So let's try first like that.
120%.
That I'll set a fixed.
But if you give the
Translation.
percentage to it, it's
Translation.
much more responsive.
But right now we're not thinking about
But you
responsive.
should see, they have
But
to
it's a
think about
circle. It doesn't matter. So if I hover on it,
Like it.
that's not good, right?
Yeah,
It's not nice.
translation.
It is growing, right? Like
Yeah.
this works.
But it looks that there is a step between
Yeah.
It
the
needs a delay, you know. Now it needs a delay.
So what do we need? There is this property called transition.
Transition, yeah. Scale. XY.
So the transition property, it will actually tell you how you want the object
From the
to
beginning.
translate.
Translate.
Trans.
Oh, that's a good question. How we make a develop
Yeah.
this name?
Well, it doesn't matter. To do
Transition.
that, to change.
Translate. To translate.
No.
Yeah. I swear to God.
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. To change. How do you want your object to change? I think like
Translate.
I'm gonna say
No, not.
okay. Let me finish. I'm gonna say I want all of the transitions to take half a second. How is it? I don't remember. Half a second. All is I'm just gonna try something because I don't remember. And let's see if it works. It does work. So what I'm doing here is how long do I want that transition to be between my initial state and the final state? How long, like, I'm gonna put 10 seconds here so you know how this changes. it will take 10 seconds to go from a 200 pixel circle to a 500 pixel circle. So that's a bit slow. Let's change it, let's keep it to half a second. And then you put in what property you want to change here. So right now I wrote all because I wasn't sure. But I'm gonna say, actually, let's see what happens because we're not just changing the width, we're changing the width and the height at the same time. So let's see. I'm actually not sure. So did you see? Let's slow it down. 3 seconds. So it changes immediately the height, but then only the width is the one that is affected by the transition property, right? So before I had all, and that is why it was saying all of the properties should take in this transition amount into account. So, but if I think this works.
It's the same of all.
But let's see. Well, it's not the same, right? Because if I change, for example, the font size inside there, and I want the font size to change really fast, then I may not want all. So no, this doesn't work. Maybe I need a comma.
You need a
No.
comma, but you need to do the rule.
Uh,
3 seconds with is in comma and then 3 seconds.
again, okay,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
like this, and then again 3 seconds. Height is in.
So we should
I
write
think there is another
everything.
way.
Yeah.
Oh.
So let's do all for now.
Yeah.
And then you pass in the function that you want, or the type of transition that you want. We're passing in is in, and this means like how you want it to look or to change. We can see it in the inspector here. Like right now it's called is in because it's slowly coming in, right? And then slowly coming out. But if we add, like, what is another one?
In is
There's is in
Out.
out, I think so. Or is
Yeah.
I think it's ease out.
No, they're not in. If out, if in, out.
linear.
Yeah, linear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Linear.
linear, yeah. Which is like linear.
And there is other things in other primary as well.
Yeah, it's like a cubic Bezier and yeah, a lot of things. Let's look at them now. So CSS transition property. Whenever you look for something that you want to get documentation on, always go to developer Mozilla. That is the good one. The other ones may not be as good. So the transition property, I'm also writing, you know how I love shorthands, but this is actually transition property all, transition duration 3 seconds, transition timing function. Here are all the ones that we can have. Yeah, easy now, linear, step in, steps, linear. And then it's the same, right? And yes, you can have, let's do a crazy one with cubic Bezier. I'm gonna do it here because Chrome, the inspector, also gives you a super nice tool to kind of experiment with. I have this. Do you see, like, you can see the linear thing there, and then you click it, and you can just like mess around with this, and it shows you how the rendering will happen.
When you play with this,
Did you see
does
that?
it save to your CSS?
No. You need to copy it.
How you can bring this to your CSS? You should copy this link.
Yeah, you copy it.
Okay.
Cubic Bezier.
Yeah, I don't know how you say it. I don't know if it's French or what.
Bezier.
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 I would say Bezier. Yeah, but that's not correct.
Like bazaar.
The person who is busy.
So we added some cubic bits here and there, and do you see like it's different? And it may be something that you want, like let's say you want to animate like a chat bubble. Then you may want something more like this instead of a linear or instant that is slowly happening. Maybe you want it to be like, boop, you know, like with a little like this. So yeah, if you want it, you need to copy this and then actually bring it to your CSS. And instead of linear, we want to have this. And now it's saved.
No. It work?
Hmm?
Like cubic behavior is not a function. They should be alone.
No, but it's like calc. Like
Okay,
it's embedded in the
yeah, okay.
CSS. Yeah.
Understand.
So
How
we're
if you
changing
want-
this.
If you want to you know when you do it, it flip. Like when you have you know the front of a DVD.
Yeah.
Okay. And you flip, you have the background with
Yeah,
all
not
the
really.
with all the with all the
Yeah.
you know the details of the
Yeah.
film and everything. The cover is in the front, and you flip it. You come.
So we can
Okay.
we can talk about that now. Like let's remove the transition for now, and let's add on hover. We're gonna introduce another property that is called.
It should be easy but graphically because if we have to flip it, we flip it on the epsilon at the x up, no epsilon x. So we just have to flip it around like in the same position on the epsilon x.
The epsilon x. The y-x.
Huh?
The y, right?
Yeah, I think in Italian you can say
Okay,
epsilon.
okay.
Yeah, the y. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, the y epsilon.
Yeah. So you can do something with this. It transform is a property. I forgot. So this came out, I want to say max 5 years ago, and it introduces having this 3D into elements that were used to being 2D, right? They're just rendered like paper in a website, and you can see like this is like a cube, and you can have actual 3-dimensional space inside your object in the HTML. So let's just play with that. We're gonna say that on hover, it's gonna. So you can do. Let's first do translate, and I'm gonna say translate x, which means on the x-axis it will move 100 pixels when I hover it. Well. No, wait. Oh, it's because I won't do it on hover then. And also, yeah, let's remove that because it was changing everything. So I have it on hover. It moves 100 pixels. If I do it on Y, same thing. With the hover, it's a little bit like, because am I hovering? Am I not hovering? It gets confused. So let's move that to here. So this is the original position that it's supposed to render at, but we're saying when you get there and get this, you move 100 pixels. So we can have this translate. And now let's try to do a 3D. And yeah, what goes inside here? Translate 3D. Let's copy this and see what happens. So it moved like a little bit crazy. And
There should be more than one circle if you want to make it 3D. No.
but right now we're not using that, right? It's just we move it the second that we render it. So it's not on hover or anything. So it takes in 3 arguments, X, Y, and Z, because now we're on the 3D world. So it's how much you want to move it on these things. But let's say, I think there is like, if we wanted to flip it, I'll remove this. And what do you do, like, if you have this item, and you're seeing this side, and you want to see this side.
Translate epsilon.
No,
it's not
because
translate,
because
it's
then
not
it moves like
translate.
this, right? But
Yeah.
you don't see the change.
Flip.
So how do you call that?
Um,
You rotate. Yeah,
rotation.
you
yeah.
rotate.
Rotate epsilon.
So we're gonna say right now we're gonna say rotate X, and I'll remove actually the it's not gonna be a circle anymore because if we rotate it like this, then it's the same.
You have to rotate from Y.
No, yeah, but now we're gonna rotate.
So we're gonna say we're gonna rotate it 90
90
degrees. Well, actually, let's do it like yeah, because it's also I'm gonna do 45. More. 78. Oh, but because we're rotating like this, I wanted the other one.
Okay, the same thing. I mean, the same thing.
No,
No,
it's
we
not
should.
look like a ball. It's look like a.
But I removed the border radius. It's no longer a circle.
But we should make a border as well. No, we don't.
Even
we
you
don't, we don't
use
need-
the border, you will see right like this.
No, we don't. Hold on. I got
Because
an idea.
it's
Hold on.
like a cylinder.
I got an idea.
So this is what I wanted.
That.
So we're rotating. What is the default? I don't even know. But we're rotating it on this, right? So it rotates on this, I think starting from the top left. So it moves like this. So we can, like if we move it,
No, it's
if we
the
change
same
the
point.
rotation, like I'll move it from here.
No, it's staying the same point. I mean, the position is the same.
Yeah. But it's rotating
Yeah.
like this, right? And then if we do like rotate 3D, then, well, what do we need to send to here? Maybe like another thing? No. So let's see how this works. This is moved. Static moved.
I think
Let's
if
figure
you
out.
just do rotate Y and increase that, you'll see. But I think it worked before. It's just because it seems like it gets smaller, but actually it's just because we're rotating
a different perspective.
by giving
Yeah.
it like this, and then if
Yeah,
you increase that,
That's
it's
right.
like
Yeah,
it's,
it is rotating
Yeah, you see.
like
Yeah.
this.
it
So
just
if
looks
you
like-
wanted to flip it, this is what you need to do,
350.
right?
180.
Yeah. Then this is the back side. There, 180. It is the back side.
Can
Of
you give
that.
the color to the backside?
Yeah, that's what I was asking. It's difficult.
Yeah. You need to create a 3D object before the rotating. Right now we're just rotating the plane.
Oh,
Yes,
you-
yes.
Yeah,
He's right.
yeah. So you
should
need,
make another div, make a data index, make it back, and then flip it, and it becomes. Try to find a
You
solution.
could probably do it how it's done. I don't know. Man.
but I'm sure we can, like, let's see how people do it. Let's go into CodePen, and I'm sure if we put in, like, DVD or, like, flip something,
wait.
we'll get something, yeah.
We should find it
You
alone.
never
Flip.
find a client like us, to ask crazy things.
Sorry?
Your client never asks this kind of things.
No.
You're saying they don't? They always want it. Always. They just need to see it once,
They use
and then,
JavaScript on it.
Yes, like this.
but maybe they don't. Let's, okay,
I have
then
a
let's,
code trend here. I'll
yeah.
There's not
CSS flip image, or like flip animation.
Oh, that's what's good.
No. It's this. Oh, that one. Yeah. I posted one at minute. Oh, okay.
Okay.
You see our two div? That's two div.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's mine. That's two div.
very used to.
So let's look at this. So you hover it, and
Oh,
it.
that's good. That's really good.
And how are they doing this? So they have this div class circle, and inside that they have a div that is for the front, and a div that is for the back.
And we give the image to the back, yes?
Yeah. And then they rotate it 3D on hover. And this is what we're looking at, right? 180, so that it flips completely.
At this.
And they have an animation for it, because did you see like how they move at a different speed? The outer ring and the inner ring and the actual circle that has the image on the back. So it's a bit more.
Would you please bring, make the a little bit slower, for example, 2 seconds to understand
Yeah.
which one is moving.
So they have this one. I'll make this 2 seconds, and then because this is yeah, okay. So they're all.
One.
The wing
Again?
is flipping in the same axis.
Okay,
The you see? Okay, I try to understand. The wing flips in the same axis, so it doesn't change. It flips like this. And the star, they change the axis degree, so it flips like this.
So let's see. Let's look at the code.
What they did is they actually rotated it on the, so they made the axis like this instead of this, and then they rotated it alongside this axis.
Yeah, but if you
So
if
they
you can
can
see
like
this,
this, like the tilted way, not
Yeah.
straight. Like horizontal or vertical, it's like more like
You change the axis of.
but you have to figure out that 3D. That's 3D.
Yeah, exactly. If you read the code, when they say 3D, 0, 45, and then
Yeah.
so they actually click on the axis.
Yeah. So let's look at how that rotate 3D property actually looks like, and what it takes in, because that's what they're playing with. So it takes in. So it says the amount of rotation blah blah is specified by 3 numbers and 1 angle. The numbers represent the x, y, and z coordinates, and the angle the rotation. Yeah. So the first one is
The X.
the x.
It's the x axis, y axis, and then the degree of which will rotate.
So they change it. They have this different for the different types of animation that they're building. So this one starts. This one has 45, and this one has 0, and they only have 2. Yeah, and they have also this like cubic Bezier animation, so that it looks like it's not linear, right? It goes sort of like this when when it changes properties. So it does like slow and then nice. Yeah. So you can do a lot of really nice and beautiful things, but let's try to do something a little bit more like the thing that we were looking at the beginning. So we're not going to rotate. We're going to leave this transition, and we're going to leave it as a circle, and we are going to grow it. But let's say we wanted to do something very similar to the thing that I showed you before, that was this one. That is like this. So,
Excuse me, is it your profile? Is not your. Yes.
so inside this circle, I'm going to add like an H4 design, and then some text. So I'm going to come here, and now, well, that's too much text. Let's just leave something like that. But I don't want to show this at the beginning. I just want to show it when it grows. So yeah, we want to hide all of this in the beginning, and then show it only when I hover, like the example we were talking about before, right? So what do we need to do in order to
No, I
do that?
understand what you said.
We need to do, I want to do something like this.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell me how to do it.
Okay, so on the paragraph at the beginning is display none.
So we need to hide it at the beginning and then not hide it when it's
When
on
it's
hover,
hover.
right? So how do we do that in here?
When you have to display none right now,
Yeah?
and when you hover it, you should display it, but it's needs time to display.
And how do we target that?
Circle no, you have to right here. No.
So we want when the circle is hovered,
Yes.
the P
Yeah.
that is inside to show.
Yeah.
Let's see how this looks. Not right now, it's good, right? It's not showing. And I hover and it is showing.
And the position should be
Oh, it's so big. That position should be what?
the position should be related, the axis on the circle should be related.
I agree. Let's try to put that in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a position relative to that circle
Yes.
and to the H, what was it? H4? That it's inside.
Absolutely.
I'm going to absolutely position it and I'm going to cheat a little bit and say that,
In the middle.
so it's sort of there. And then I'm going to do,
Left.
I don't know if it works if we center it, like text line center. Will it work? Will it not work?
You should use the margin, then top and left 0 and the right and top
Yeah.
and bottom 0, the left and right photo. So it comes directly in the right.
But what I would like to do first is wrap this, because when I center it, I want all of it to be in the center, not just the title, right? So I'm going to wrap this into this circle content, and inside that I'm no longer going to target this. I'm going to target circle content, and I think if I set all of this to 0, it will be centered. Right, 0, bottom 0.
No, left shouldn't be like that. Left should be 50%.
Let's see. I'll remove the animation for now because it's,
Frustrating.
yeah, I can't. Oh no, and I need to remove this too. Just for a second. Remember, I forget how things work all the time. So
You have
Margin?
Margin and padding 0. Margin 0.
as this is taking
No,
all
if
of
you do
that.
margin 0, it doesn't move. I think left should be 50%.
But do you see how this circle content is the size of the circle? So we can't center it, right? Like
Oh yeah,
if,
because it was a square.
if we make this half, now we can put that sort of in the center of the parent. But before, if it's 100%, then you can't center something inside something that is the same size. So we're gonna make it half. And what can we do? Let's try margin 0 auto. That kind of works. That is centered, and let's add text line.
Text line
center.
lower center.
And yeah, let's see. So I think we can actually remove. Can we remove all of this? Nope, we need it. So let's
You know,
make
when there is
it.
a lot of code like this, it means there's something going on. I mean, it shouldn't be like too much.
But this is a tricky thing because now we're getting into this absolute positioning because we want something to be on top of another thing and we want it to be like right in the center. So sometimes, yeah, it's the only way. But there may be definitely another way to do it. We're improvising. And margin. Okay. And now we should make that circle smaller. Let's change it to 100. Yeah, I think that's fine. And then when we hover on it, we want to show the rest of the paragraph.
And I think you should give the font size to the design and the contact to become responsive. You know, you can use the DW or percentage.
Let's not worry about that for now. So now, if I hover on it, it's really big. It doesn't need to be that big, so let's change that. Instead of 400, let's say 300. And let's add the animation bag. So now, this is odd, right? What do you think we need to do?
How we can make that it compare when it's done? We cannot do that.
No.
We can. It means we have to figure out how to do that.
We would need to add maybe a longer frame or like have this to display, because how long is the animation? 1 second. So hide it until
Millisecond.
no.
I think you can make a display time. Display time, for example, once the hover is finished, which is 1 second, right? Then it appears, the picture appears. I don't know if the function for that.
Yeah.
The delay.
Yeah. We could add a delay to that. And how could we do it? Help me, Ben.
It's transition, and then you give it the time.
Animation delay.
No, it's not animation. It's transition.
Delay.
No, transition, and then the transition we want. So, for example, I don't know, is that the display or we could maybe do like a scale or something like that.
Yeah.
So then it's like 0.3 seconds. Space 0.3 seconds. So the first is the time, and the second is the delay, and then it's the like before, so transform. And whatever you need.
Yeah. And then we need to actually add the transform. So instead of having it display none to display block,
We do transform scale from.
we can have it from from 0 to what do we put here? Like
1.
1. Let's see. Well, it's like
So
a little better.
So that's because we need to give it the second. We gave it 0.3. Sorry, that was my. So no, the second is the delay. Yes, so to get that one, I think that should be.
Okay, so the first one will go.
The first one is the time, and the second is the delay.
And
But you can, if you go into a Chrome, you can actually unfold the transition.
Yeah.
And you can see the individual parts of it.
So when this is hovered, I know this one.
It was
I'll open up this
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
Yeah. So
there you
it's
see.
this is the delay of 1 second.
So that means delay that when you hover the circle, it start counting 1 second and then it appears.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the duration and the delay should be close to each other, because when you hover over it, the sequence becomes big, and then the contact comes out. But if they are closer to each other,
No, yeah, you could say that, but the problem is that while we are scaling up the circle, the text changes.
okay.
That's a problem right now,
Yeah.
I guess. So you could, yeah.
But if you make the font responsive for this circle, maybe you won't.
But
have
it
this
doesn't
problem.
matter because it will look weird too because the font will be growing.
I have an idea right now.
Yeah.
Our problem is that the text is overflowing, right?
Yeah.
So if we make an overflow hidden, then once the thing is completely big, it will show the text. And or it will show parts of the text until it's fully big.
We can try it.
And would you please send this website to us as well?
The circle?
The,
Yeah.
No, the website that you are.
So now it's waiting. And you want to try Mar without the delay and see what happens?
Just overflow hidden, basically.
Yeah, let's see. And yeah, so you don't see it, right? Like before, remember, like it was overflowing the circle, and now it's like slowly coming out. So yeah, we can, yeah, we can definitely do that too. So I would say these are the most important properties that you need to get started with animations. Like when it's simple, so it's thinking about what do you want to change and how long do you want it to take. Because it's a lot of them are just like making things bigger or smaller or rotating or like change. For example, we can change the color. Like I'll yeah, all, and then I will have it background. Okay, it's red, and I'll change it when it's on hover to pink. Do you see how
It hover with the time.
yeah, it gradually changes into pink. So this is something that you can also add to buttons and things like that. Like when you have it on hover, instead of it being like from green to pink, it can take a little bit of time to change, and yeah, it can look nice. So go crazy with animations. And the other part, so this is like managing the transition and translate stuff, but you can do custom animations that are called keyframes. That's the word.
Keyframe.
Keyframes, yeah. So in those type of keyframes, you can define what you want it to look like. Well, this is I think this is like inspirational. Yeah, like
Oh yeah,
this is a
really good.
yeah, this is nice. But I want to talk about keyframes as the last thing for today. So keyframes is very much like in a movie where you have frames. So you kind of break it down into steps that are going to happen when you put an animation or something. So I'm gonna take this for example, and I'm gonna add it at the end of my CSS file. So this is, you define this as, you start with add keyframes. It's sort of like the media query syntax that we learned, but with keyframes. And then you name your animation. In this case, my animation is called slide in. I'm gonna remove, yeah, okay.
But
This is just gonna get
keyframe
crazy.
is related to Which class, which element?
Right now it's to nothing.
Nothing. So you
This
have
is
to
just you
address it.
create. Yeah, you create a keyframes attribute. Yeah, it's like creating your own animation,
Okay.
and you name it. Like I can call this Alicia sliding, and then you put that in animation property, and then let's look it up because I think it's like you can also do 1 second something and then the name. Let's see. 1 second and then slide in. And then do I need something else? Nope, I don't remember. Animation CSS.
If it's sliding, it cannot be evening or without.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So using CSS animations. I want the shorthand. Yeah, animation duration and animation name. So maybe this will work. Let's see. Yeah, it does work. I mean, it's a little bit crazy, but you can do it. So if you said from to, where you want it to start and where and how do you want it to end. So this is margin left, which is margin left 100% means send it all the way there. Start there and have a width of 300 pixels.
What have a width of 300%?
Margin left width of I think is just so it goes like from 300 like with really big and then it moves to 100. Like let's slow it down.
Oh, so it come okay. The page is 100%.
Yeah.
It look like there is other
3
pages.
times that.
Three
Yeah.
Other 2 pages.
Yeah.
So it's coming from.
So yeah, do you see it's super big and then it ends like that. So you can divide it. This is when you only have 2, like the 0% and the 100% of the animation. But you can break it down like 0 starts like this, 20% is like this, 40% is like this, and 100% is like this. Yeah, so you can define like how actually smooth you want the animation to be. I saw it was here. In the keyframes. Sorry. Yeah, so you can do this is like 0, 50, 50, 100. This is from the beginning like 0, in the middle, and in the end. And you can have this. You see, like it runs the minute that you put it in. Like the when it starts rendering, it's there. And you can have like, let's say I want. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to from to, so having just 2 states of the keyframes. And let's say you wanted to keep the last state of the, like you created an animation and then you actually wanted to stay that way, not come back to that first render. So, or you can have, I'm talking about this like iteration count. Like I'm gonna add this infinite. I think I can do it like infinite. And it will go on, yeah, it's a loop. It will stay like that forever. And there are different properties of this, like, so, yeah, that's part of the animation, yeah, iteration count. So you can have it run 3 times and then stop. You can have it infinite. You can have it, you know, there are many, like I added just to 3, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, and then sub. Yeah. So this is a very short introduction about animations. This is very much something that you will have to research and learn on your own, because it's you need to kind of get used to it and see how many things you can do with that. But it's really fun. If you can see, like, if you go on CodePen and just look at the projects that people build, like the one that we saw today, like, you will see that people do so many crazy things, and it's always so beautiful. So the homework for this week is to do something similar to what we did the first part of the class, where you recreate a website. So don't look at the HTML, have it think as it is a design given to you, and it needs to be responsive. Like, let's look at this one. I mean,
I
you
hate
don't.
newspapers website. They're really bad.
Yeah, I built a lot
I
of
don't
them.
like them.
Like, I used to work in a company that built newspaper websites. Is never good. Yeah, they're all the same. But you don't have to put content in there. Just like recreate it and with dummy content and things like that. But it needs to be responsive. It needs to be like, pay attention to the font they're using, to the colors, the borders, to all of that. I want you to also learn how to be to pay a lot of attention to detail, because it's important. When you're a front-end engineer, you need to, these things can't skip your mind. You need to be aware of all of the tiny details and how to actually know how to put them into code that you can deliver. Yeah.
When you're writing the code, you will give a specific size to this photo, and whenever they change the photo, they have to have this kind of size for the yes?
Well, it doesn't matter, because, like, I'm gonna open this photo. You can do that, but if this was bigger, you just need to handle it here so that it's always
And
shown that size.
and if I don't know how should I ask my question, but they will never have this page forever. You know, sometimes they want to change the page for other things. So what do you do with that?
So you need to build a website that can handle that. So you need to
Okay.
build. You need to build in a way that if they want to change this tomorrow, I can change the text and it will look almost the same.
You know what I mean? For example, when I use WordPress, you know, every time I can write a new things and put the photos, and then I look at my website, it has the same design.
Yeah. So you need to build like that.
Yeah.
You can use a CSS property called background position, and you can choose like cover or stretch or initial, and it will just kind of resize it, or it will make the aspect ratio fit. So no matter kind of what resolution your image is in, you can always just fit it nicely into the image.
Okay.
But
What is the name of it?
background position
Background position?
it's a CSS attribute. And if you're using images, there is something else. I can't remember the attribute right now.
Background image.
No, not with the image.
There is the
What, sorry? What? No.
Field.
the contain, the one that you can use.
Could you just explain again? I mean, what is the homework? I
So
didn't get
just,
it.
yeah, let's say you pick that website, the one that I just showed, the Boston Globe.
Think with Google. That I think it will be good.
No,
Uh,
you
not-
can't. You
not
can't
bad.
replicate Google. No.
That's really bad.
And then here, I want like an HTML that has 3 columns, and like you write in news of the day or whatever. You don't need to like, or you can copy some of the text here, but like reproduce it as much as you can. Like
make it
almost the
the
same.
same?
Yeah,
Almost
yeah,
the
yeah.
same?
So imagine this is a design that was given to you.
okay. Oh, did the customer ask you to?
Yeah, the customer asked you to build this.
Okay.
And then I mean obviously this is really long, so don't do
Exaggerate.
yeah limit yourselves, don't work that hard. But like add a footer, you know, elements that you think, oh, that would be interesting to build, do something like that.
And if I find another website really good that I like and I want to copy it,
yeah, you're
I
very
can
welcome
send-
to do
I
that.
can send
Yeah,
the email.
Yeah.
I mean the website.
but
to you.
don't like
Copy it.
not simple websites, right? I want you
No,
to
no, no.
challenge
I mean
yourselves
fancy
and
website, not like
yeah, okay,
really
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
Stripe, Stripe.com. Stripe is TRIPE.
Oh, Google.
Yeah,
Google,
you can reproduce this one if you want. Just
really good. I mean, I
yeah,
like them. You know, it's
Yeah.
fancy, look good, and a challenge. It's a challenge. You know?
and then like yeah, like this is an animation, right? Like and what is it? It's like an animation of the rotation to
Drop down.
add some animations, add transitions, add yeah. I just want to see you using the things that we've been learning.
Another.
When you are writing code for this, you prefer to put the background like this, or you prefer to use SVG for this kind of?
But you can Photoshop it. I mean, I'm not joking. I mean, you can create an image like this and put it like a background.
It's very easy to make a background like this with Photoshop.
Yeah.
So I would think this background is CSS and these are SVGs. So the background is a gradient that you can build with CSS. I'm almost certain. And stripes. Yeah, you can see here like I'll remove this. Do you see this background linear gradient property? I'll remove it. So it is just CSS. Do you see that?
Okay.
And then this images, that may be the background. I'm not completely sure.
Yeah, how can you make this type slope line?
Skew.
Yeah, there's a property called skew that I think it's this one. Yeah, do you see this transform skew Y?
Yeah.
That's the one that makes it. Otherwise
Something happened.
otherwise it's just a box, right? And do you see here they have this dash WebKit that we were talking about before, this prefix that, yeah. So they have this.
It takes so long to make something like that. Could I ask you in this couple of minutes?
Yeah, of course.
If you can explain us how to make, to upload again from
Git.
Bash.
Git bash. Yeah.
Yeah, because I tried. I mean, I tried to add
Yeah.
it, then I said, nah, please.
We can talk about it. Yep. So, but yeah, we're done. I'm not gonna be your teacher anymore. This is my last module. I mean, the last class of the module. You're gonna move on to JavaScript. You're gonna do great. But it's just gonna get harder. So you're gonna need to work harder as well, and just be very curious and keep looking at how things are built. Use the inspector as much as you can. It's always CSS most of the time, which is amazing because websites that look like this, you can now build it. You now understand what it needs to build something like this. So it was great teaching you guys. You're a great class. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for those of you who haven't put a picture of your selection or your Slack, that would be really nice. It just helps all the. You don't have to, but it's just nice for the
Will we
mentors and
stay?
teachers. It's easier to do it by.
Next week we stay in this class.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I have to create. Oh my god! I hate
Is
this.
that like the
I have to create a positive class.
But you did upload it, right?
Huh?
You did upload it.
Yeah, but when I start through Git bash. I didn't know how to do it, so I did it normally. Okay, so
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Okay. Not necessarily.
We're about to
I have to upgrade my
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's because
Yeah, that's what you
they were in the
okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
It's been nice. Thank you.
Already it had like a great
Yeah.
it has like
But you will be still around.
I mean, I won't come that often, but I will come sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
When pero nos vemos ahora en el escritorio, ¿te vas a ir?
like that it's nice.
Pero vamos a ir al escritorio.
But it's nice having
It's actually, it's more like, you can actually capture everything.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they said that the S89 was it? Was a better camera.
more marketing.
Yeah.
Actually, I have the E30. It's quite good. That's like
Wait, is this? Is it this?
yes, it has a wide
Whenever
angle.
you saw a very nice, very good source, very helpful source for the CSS animation,
Yeah.
can you share with all?
Yeah.
Because I looked so many places, but I couldn't find a very helpful.
Yeah, I will. I think Ben is actually, he works a bit more with animations than I do. Yeah, so he may have better examples. Yeah, but I will. If I see something, I'll share it. Yeah, definitely. Sure.
It's really nice that you can have
Yeah, thank you.
with the group photos. It's like it has a wide angle. It kind of gets
It's more curved.
yeah.
Oh, with the.
It's more curved. And it actually can capture like.
Thank you. See you.
I have to go in a hurry right now, so.
Nice to meet you again.
Nice
Thank
to
you
meet
so
you.
much.
Yeah,
It's been
see you
really nice.
soon. Yeah, thank you.
I will go and take
Give us knowledge.
Thank you for taking it.
We will be better.
What's your
You should be proud.
hold to the CV.
yes, yes. Do that. Yeah,
But if I saw in the ink you gave a class that it wasn't in your code, outdoor filter outdoor.
what sorry?
In the last line of your CSS, there was a class that I couldn't find it in the HTML.
Of my CSS. What are you talking about?
In the red logo. It was-
Oh, it's not mine. I just found it on CodePen.
I found
Yeah. No, I haven't made it. I just searched, flip, circle. Can you put the circle thing you did, can you put that on GitHub?
Yep.
In the material week 3